intro. I love that intro. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And I am Suzanne Suchan, and this is the You Can with Suzanne show. Thank you for being here. Well, it is a full circle show for me. You might have seen me getting a little excited on Facebook about it. Now, I got to tell you a story. So when I was a kid, I used to make commercials on my little tape recorder. And it was real fun. And I would use my little sound effects and different voices and all that kind of stuff. And I always wanted to get into radio. I either wanted to be a radio jock or a bartender. So I think it's like a social kind of a thing. But it's very different because in radio, you're talking to yourself. I didn't know that. But anyways, but then I got into my abusive relationship and I was like off the radar for the next 22 years of my life. So fast forward to 10 years ago. And when I finally came forward and started a non-for-profit and did all these wonderful things, and I was able to be a guest on Rich Rogemoser's show, Heard It on the X. And that was all kinds of wonderful, awesome, but I blanked out. I was all panicked. I forgot my best friend's name and everything else, and they couldn't help me because they didn't know my best friend's name. But after I got through it, I was like, whew, well, that was pretty awesome. I want to do that again. And I tried to find ways to get back on the air and didn't get anywhere. And so then I found Blog Talk Radio and I did the phone thing first because that was the cheapest option. So I'm there on the phone and I'm hosting a radio show from my living room, and it was really difficult talking to myself. You have to learn how to do that. It's weird. So I got that, and then finally a friend at WBNY said, hey, you can do what you want to do here on our station. I was like, oh, really? And so I brought on some bands and got into small businesses, and that was back in 2010. So I've had that wonderful show called Suzapalooza Spotlight since 2010 with a small break when my program manager graduated. And wow, so I've evolved over the years. I'm super comfortable talking to myself, but now I have guests, so it's a little more fun. And then I just resigned in May. I left Suzapalooza Spotlight in favor of this weekly wonderful Bomb Diggity TV show. Yeah! So here we are. And now, when I was a kid, I know I'm going to kind of timestamp myself, but I had a little transistor radio, and I would sleep with it under my pillow. And I was just always a music person. Like, I never got into TV. It was always music. And I'm still that way. I don't even have TV in my house. My radio is always on. In fact, I have 2 radios on 2 different stations in my house. And so, this is a full circle moment in that I have with me right now in studio, Danny Neaverth. Woo-hoo-hoo! Yay!
I think you should be a little more upbeat. You're holding back. You really should project a little bit more. Right?
And this is without caffeine.
You actually left the chair. She went up like this while she was talking. She was leaving the chair. I thought you were going to float out of the studio. Wow.
Without caffeine, too.
Yeah. But you talked about talking to yourself. Have you ever seen a doctor about that, maybe? Because there's a little...
Oh, no.
Talking to yourself. The problem is when you talk to yourself, if you answer, then you're really in trouble.
I do.
Oh, you answer yourself?
Oh, I do. Oh. I hit full-blown arguments and everything.
It's funny you mentioned talking to yourself. When I was at WKBW, I was the only one in the studio. So there'd be a newsman, but he would only come in on the hour, quarter after. We had 15 and 45, we had the news. But then I'd be all by myself. So I thought, I wish there were some other people here that I could bounce things off of. So I had to make up people. And I had a sidekick, a guy who helped me out. And I would always kind of take advantage of him, and he was Artie.
I remember him.
Yeah, well, Artie was like, "Keeper, man, what do you want me to do now?" Oh, okay. So, and that would be one of the characters. And then strange things happen. A lot of the characters are based on real people that I had met. I remember walking into the program director's office, and his secretary sat just outside of where he was. And I said something to her. I put my hand on her shoulder, and she said, "Don't touch me. I'm an engaged woman." Okay? So now I thought, wow, that's interesting. So the next day, an engaged woman came in, and she sounded like this. "Well, don't you dare touch me. I'm an engaged woman." And I would talk to her. Okay, so I had Artie, and I had the engaged woman. And then because the Buffalo Sabres were so popular, I had to have some kind of a hockey person. So let's see, who could I have? How about Pierre Puck? Okay, Pierre Puck is a French-Canadian former hockey player, and you know what he had? He had a dirty hockey school, and he would talk like, "You come to my dirty hockey school with your kids, and I take those sissy kids and I make them into dirty hockey players, and they could spit on the ice like you see them on TV. They go poof like that on the ice, and they come there, and we have a special thing." Well, what kind of a thing do you have? "Oh, we got a special thing there where we teach them how to swear. You know, they don't ever show it on TV, but you could see their mouth moving, and you could hear the very bad words that they were using at the referee, you know. But if the kids don't know any swear words, how are they going to play hockey there?" So that was, you know. So I was not alone in the studio anymore. I had a bunch of people there helping me out.
That's great.
Yeah. And then Burt Reynolds was in Cosmopolitan magazine, and he was a centerfold in the magazine, okay? And there he was lying on some pillows or something like that. So my boss said, "Why don't we do something like that? Why don't we'll make a calendar and we'll put you on the calendar." So I went to the photography studio, and they had me wearing a Speedo, which was a very brief Speedo, and it was like red, white, and blue, you know, American colors. Okay, it was wonderful. And they had me lying on the pillows, and there was a clock radio right next to me. And they had over the real part in the middle here, they had the calendar. And what people would do is they get the first thing they do when they get this calendar is they'd lift it up. Oh, he's wearing a bathing suit. Okay. So that was kind of interesting. But a sidelight to that, if you look very close at the radio, now I was on WKBW, 1520 on your dial, okay? If you look very close at the radio, and we never noticed it until it was too late, the radio was tuned to 930 WBEN. So the best laid plans of mice and men, sometimes they go astray. So.
Did you always want to get into radio when you were a kid?
Yes. Yeah. I used to listen to, you know, people would say to me, you know, you're so original. The stuff you do is so original, and I'm not. And I think anybody who does the kind of stuff that I did and the kind of stuff I'm going to do again, they take bits and pieces from people that they admire, okay? Now, I would always like Jonathan Winters because he did crazy voices, okay? But I didn't like everything he did, so I would take something from him, and then I'd take something from another character and another person to see, or somebody in a movie. And when you take all these pieces and you put them together, then people say, "Wow, it's really unique." No, not really unique. And I don't think most entertainers are really unique. And I love it when people go like this, unique. You know, they always put quotation marks around what they say, okay? Because that makes them more important when they talk like that. But I really feel that way. If you're a musician or you're a comedian or you're a magician, you were inspired by people along the way. And I was inspired. My mother and my father, as I was growing up, I was a little kid, they listened to Clint Buhlman on WBEN. Clint Buhlman was the morning man on WBEN radio, and he owned the city. I mean, he was the person that you would listen to in the morning. And he was like the first traffic reporter because the station was in the Statler Hotel downtown, okay? And he would look out the window and he'd talk about the traffic on Delaware Avenue and the circle in front of City Hall, and he'd look off, I can see some clouds coming in off the lake, it looks like it's going to storm, and he would talk about that, and he played the piano. He played very few records, but he was a real personality, and he really talked to people. And that was one of the things that I thought was important. If you can really talk to the people and make them feel comfortable, and you're giving them information, you're giving them entertainment, and he was an inspiration. Years later, while he was still on the air and I was on WKBW, we were competing. And when I moved to the morning show at WKBW, the boss said, "You'll never be number one because Clint Buhlman owns Radio Buffalo. But if you can be number two, that's wonderful because we can sell that and you'll be very, very successful being number two in the market, okay?" Well, we were a real strong number 2 until the blizzard of '77. And as horrible as that blizzard was, and as scary as it was, and the death toll in Western New York was pretty high, that blizzard was probably one of the best things that ever happened in my career. Because while Clint Buhlman was getting a little cranky because there was so much stuff happening, and so much information coming in, and he sounded a little cranky, okay? Our approach was, it's going to be okay. The National Guard is coming. They're going to help you. We're going to get through this together. And during the blizzard, I got home every day, sometimes only for half an hour, back on a snowmobile. Snowmobile club would come and pick me up, and they'd take me into Orchard Park, and then the sheriffs, I get in one of their cars, they take me downtown, back and forth all through the blizzard.
Wow.
And I remember one of the guys from the snowmobile club said, well, when you get on the back, hold on real tight. And he says, and he didn't say if, he said, when we tip over, he said, and honest to God, he said, when we tip over, don't put your hands out like this because it'll break your arms. He said, when we tip over, just kind of roll, okay? Well, we only tipped over one time, but we were riding literally over the tops of cars.
Wow.
The antenna sticking up is all you see. That's a car right there, okay?
Oh my gosh.
And it was amazing. So one day, John Zach, who was the newsroom, he was a news director, actually, I think. But I worked with John for a long time, and I told him, but this is really tough getting back to my house, because from Orchard Park out, it was like nothing, 8, 12 feet, snow drifts everywhere, right? So he said, why don't you take my snowmobile? You got a snowmobile? Yeah. He said, okay. He said, get into Orchard Park tomorrow, have the snowmobile guys bring you in there, and then he said, go downtown. He said, I've got the snowmobile in my van, and at the end of your shift, we'll drive out to Orchard Park. I'll show you how to run the snowmobile. I had never run one before. And when you run the snowmobile, you take it home, and then come back, and I'll pick you up in Orchard Park, put it in the truck, okay? Wow, that sounds like neat thing. Well, like so many men, I don't like to follow directions, okay? You know, if you get something, there's all these directions where you're, I'll figure it out, maybe, okay. So we get to Orchard Park, pull the snowmobile out of the back of his van, and he said, okay, here's what you have to do. You have to pull this, you turn this, you do this, and okay, and it'll start. But if you don't do it right, you won't be able to get it started, and you'll never get it started, okay? So you know how to do it now, Dan? Oh, yeah, okay, but you start it anyway for me. Okay? So he starts it. Now I got on a snowmobile. I get home. When I got home, the kids were all excited because it's a snowmobile. And I had never ridden a snowmobile before, right? So it turns out, long story short, I was giving rides to all the kids in the neighborhood and my kids, right? And now I'm thinking, what if I run out of gas? Take it down into the town of Boston. There's a gas station that was open. And you're not supposed to have the motor running on a snowmobile when you put any gas in it, right? So here's how I did it. I didn't want to stop the snowmobile, so I put the gas in like this, okay? So when it blows up, it doesn't do a lot of damage to my face, all right? I'd fill it up, go back up, turn it off, and so my youngest son, Dean, said, Dad, can I go into the station with you tomorrow? He's a little kid like this. I said, yeah, okay, if you don't mind getting up real early. Okay, yeah. So the next morning, Ray bundles him up, and he's got all the heavy clothes on. He's got the hat pulled down and everything. He's all excited. He's going to ride a snowmobile. So we get on the snowmobile. Now I'm trying to remember what John told me to do. Turn this. Oh, thank God it started right up. Right, he's behind me. Now you know how sometimes bad things happen in slow motion.
Yeah.
Okay, he's behind me, and I see this little hand come over my shoulder like this, and it comes like this. And there's a button on the snowmobile, and the button says kill, okay? That is if you get in trouble, it turns the engine off, okay? Now he comes over like this.
Oh, no.
And he pushes the kill button. The snowmobile stops. Oh my God, what am I gonna do now? I'll never be able to get it started again, I know for sure. So I said, Dean, go in the house, and go up to your bedroom and stay there for the rest of your life. Okay. Now he's only this big, but as he goes in, he's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, now he's standing inside looking through the window, and he's like, I'm sorry. So I figure, okay, I'm going to try this. So whoop. Fortunately, it started. So now do I continue his punishment, or come on, back out, get on, hop in the back. I said, Dean, just tell me one thing. Why did you do that? What caused you to do that? He said, I thought it was the horn. I said, what? You're going to blow the horn at 4 o'clock in the morning? So we've had adventures. Yeah.
But that whole blizzard pretty much pivoted your career.
Yeah, because like I said, people thought they were going to die, and some did, unfortunately. Okay, but we were more of a calming influence. We were giving them the information, but we weren't upset by it, you know. And like I said, Clint, who God rest his soul, he was the best, but he got cranky, and we actually after the blizzard we became #1 in the morning.
Oh wow!
And continued from that. So.
Is that when the KB #1 came out?
Yeah.
Because I had the bumper sticker on my lime green bicycle.
Oh, what kind of lime green?
Yeah.
Oh, she was very hip, very hip lady, girl.
At the time,
girl.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Let's see. So you wanted to be in radio, and was it easy to get your first job?
No. We had a radio station, we called it a radio station, at the Boys Club of Buffalo on Babcock Street. And myself, Joey Reynolds, who ended up working at KB and now is in New York City, and he's been in every major market in the country, Danny McBride and Jack Kelly, guys who all ended up being in radio. We had our little radio station on the 3rd floor of the Boys Club. And we would broadcast the dances. We'd play the music for the dances over the loudspeakers. We'd look out the window and we'd do play-by-play of the football games down on the field and stuff like that. And we even had a commercial.
Wow.
Vi and Emil's Casa de Pizza. Okay?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So instead of paying us for the commercial, we got a pizza. Hey, that was a big deal. Okay. And then we went on to to end up in broadcasting. When I graduated from high school, my dad took me around to a whole bunch of small radio stations. Wellsville, went to Erie, Pennsylvania, went to Jamestown, 3 or 4 other places, and I would leave a tape recording of my show that I would make up. And I really wanted to work in Jamestown. That seemed to me like it would look like a real radio station. It was very impressive, right? But they didn't have any openings. So he found out that a woman that he worked with, my dad worked in a bank his entire career, and a woman he worked with, her brother-in-law was starting as a general manager at a station in Coudersport, Pennsylvania. So he told me about that, and so we drove down there. I did the audition, and they hired me. Well, I was there about 2 weeks, and I got a call from Jamestown, and they said, "Oh, we got your tape here. We now have an opening." I said, I can't. Oh. I just started here, you know. So it was Coudersport, where we had a chance to do everything. It was really wonderful. And, man on the street interviews. I was also a country and western singer.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah. We had a program called the Allegheny Mountain Jamboree. And here's how it worked. We carried Yankee baseball, and on a Saturday afternoon, local bands would come in, and sometimes big-name country bands would come in. But to promote their performance that Saturday night, they would appear on the radio Saturday afternoon to promote it. So here's what would happen. I'm running the controls in the station, and using my fake voice, WFRM, the Farm and Home Broadcasting, Coudersport, Pennsylvania. Stay tuned for the Allegheny Mountain Jamboree. I go like that. Now, down the hall through 2 windows, there was the Allegheny Mountain Jamboree, wooden benches, probably about 30 people sitting in there, and a country band. So the Allegheny Mountain Jamboree, and now I would set the levels up, run down the hall, and I would come around, and they would just be finishing, Now I'm using my country voice. Okay. Well, welcome to the Allegheny Mountain Jamboree. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, in the studios at WFRM in Coudersport, Pennsylvania. And now it's featured tonight, boom, whoever the group was. And then I'd sing a song with them. I'd read some commercials in there. And at the end of the thing, well, we'll see you again next week on the Allegheny Mountain Jamboree. Run back down the hall. This is the Farm and Home Broadcasting Network. Stay tuned for Yankee baseball. Yeah.
But what fun!
Oh, it was
right?
great fun. But I made big money there. Yeah, $40 a week.
Ooh.
You know, and I was so sensational that they raised my pay to $46 a week.
Wow.
Yeah, but I had to work on Saturday. So. But no, it's been great, and I look forward to being on WECK because Buddy Shula he's really into Western New York. He's like one of the top salespeople at WBEN, had been for years. Okay, but he always wanted to have his own little radio station. So WECK became available. He bought that, and he's bringing back some of the names that we're familiar with. You know Harv Moore.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you listen to him, and John Summers, who was on KB Radio for a long time, and he was also a co-host in the morning on Channel 7. Okay,
Yep.
so very, very familiar. We've got Tom Donahue in the morning, who worked with me at WKBW when we brought it back. Great voice, terrific guy. He's doing the morning show, and John Zach, who's
Wow.
a very familiar newsman, and they're putting it all together. And Frank Miller's going to be doing an afternoon show. And I'll be doing my little show on Friday. They asked me, why are you just doing 4 hours on Friday only? Why aren't you doing a complete air shift? Well, Buddy originally talked to me, and he said, would I could come and do it? I said, no, I'm doing a lot of other things. But 4 hours, I said, for 4 hours, I can be fantastic. For 20 hours, not so much. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Gotcha. How exciting, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Buffalo has just really turned around in a huge way. And for Buddy to have purchased WECK, I'm just so excited for the reason that you just stated.
Well,
keeping it home.
He's
as
so
opposed to-
Buffalo-centric.
Yeah,
He really,
it's wonderful.
And it's going to be a Buffalo radio station. It's not going to be, in the business now, there's a lot of automation, okay, a lot of automation. And, you can see it here. Remember, there used to be a guy behind that camera? Remember that?
Yes.
There'd be a guy behind that camera, a guy behind that camera, and a guy behind that camera, and 5 people in that room in there doing all of this, right? There's only one guy in there.
He's good, though.
He's running the whole thing, one person.
Yeah.
Oh, he's very good.
Yeah.
But so that things have changed, and what Buddy's done with WECK is to bring a local flavor back to it. You can go automated and play, 25 hours of music and nobody has to be there. Okay,
Yeah.
It's all But this is live stuff, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to sound
Me
great.
too. It's lame. I don't like syndicated. I don't like where you can't hear I like hearing a live body. And tell me what the weather's going to be.
Yeah.
Tell me about the traffic and stuff. I
Well-
like to know what's going on live.
Yeah, don't get me started on the weather, because I did the weather on Channel 7. And the general manager used to appear on Dialing for Dollars once a month. and he
Nolan
would take
Johansson. I
questions.
remember that show. Oh, that's going way back.
But he would take questions from people, like what can Channel 7 do to improve, their broadcast? What would you recommend? And people would be very nice about it, and they, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And there was one woman who called every time he was on, and she said, that Dan Neaverth, he's on there and he's just fooling around. He's fooling around and he's showing those stupid movie things where what about the weather? What about the weather? And the general manager would stick up for me and say, did he tell you if it was going to rain or going to snow or what? Yeah, but he shows those stupid movies and something like that. And she's going on and on. Apparently did not like me, Hard to believe that she wouldn't like me. I can't believe it. Yeah, right. I'm so likable. But and that was it. But the thing was, I am not a meteorologist. I have never been a meteorologist. We had a weather service, and it was AccuWeather. They would tell us what the forecast was, and we put that together, and go on the air, and I'd show these little movie clips, and I would, they're usually from silent movies and stuff, and there was one guy who, he was a circus performer, and he would stand like this, and they'd shoot a cannonball into his stomach. So I say, and that was Irv Weinstein with his part-time job at the circus, But she didn't like that. But and I would get hollered at sometimes from mothers. At least twice every winter season, I would go outside in my bare feet and wear shorts and go out in my bare feet and stand in the snow, the real deep snow. Okay, well, the thing is, you can do that, and it's not going to kill you to do that, okay? However, the one time I did that, and women would call in and say, my son wants to go outside in his bare feet. No, yeah. And so one time I was out there, and to prove I was in the snow, I was kicking it like this. Now the bottom of your feet, it kind of gets numb.
Yeah.
And inside the studio, my feet were bleeding.
Oh,
the bottoms
my gosh.
of my feet were bleeding. So I learned my lesson.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Thank you. So we are like almost out of time.
Really?
Yeah. It goes by
They
so
told me
fast.
this was a 5-hour show.
And I did post on Facebook when I first found out that you were going to agree to come on. So one of my friends, Michelle, who I said I would read her comment of your impact to her on the show, and her name is Michelle, and she says, I love Danny. He took a busload of teenagers to see the Beatles in Toronto at Maple Leaf Gardens 2 years in a row, 65 and 66. We had to save Crush bottle caps, and the ones with the most were the winners. We got a box lunch, and of course, orange or grape Crush. It was a fun chaperone, and we had a fab time seeing the Fab Four.
Time.
Thank you, Michelle.
We never heard a note of the Beatles. It was screaming women, girls, all through it. Flash cameras you couldn't see. You couldn't see, you couldn't hear, but you were there. It was history. Yeah.
Wonderful. So we're going to be able to hear you Fridays from 4 to 7, right?
Right. On WECK.
Awesome. Awesome. So make sure you tune in.
Please.
Thank you for joining us. This has been the You Can with Suzanne show, and that would be me. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Danny Neaverth. Thank you, Buddy Shula and WECK. And I hope that you tune in, and I will see you again next week. Bye.